fire, burning them in order to kick the can down the road. And I think it's catching up to the Lakers. And again, missing on the margins, missing on the singles, it's hurting them right now. And so that's why this summer, again, it's not, they've got the 55th pick in the draft. And at some point, I will start into who they could actually take with that 55th pick. I am not very deep into my draft prep. I'll tell you, look, if the Lakers have the 17th pick again, I would be much further into it. But it's not just the 55th pick, though. If they can find one rotation player this summer, one that they can find without having to burn a draft pick on, they can find somebody that isn't even like a high-tier free agent. You can find somebody that went undrafted, major hit on Austin Reeves. You can find the back of their roster because there's just too many guys on it right now that probably won't be around next year, but they need to replace those guys with dudes that could actually play in an NBA game. Here's a comment here. Sheed said, "Hey, Trev, are the new Luka workout pictures real?" So I have not seen the new Luka workout pictures. So if you guys want to link them to me and put them in the chat or something like that and send it along. I haven't seen anything. I've seen there's been reports of Luka working out and things of that nature, but I haven't seen any like new workout pictures. So possible that I just missed it or something like that. Now let's go here. Mamba Mentality said, welcome everyone. Enjoy this stream. Trev the Goat. Man, I can't talk today. I'm on vacation mode already. We're heading into a holiday weekend. Enjoy the stream, Trev the Goat. Oh, well, thank you, Mama. Appreciate that. How many centers do the Lakers need? 1, 2, or 3? How do y'all feel on Kai Jones, Moses Brown, and Boucher? Okay, so how many centers do the Lakers need? I think the minimum's 2. I think we tend to focus on you need to get a center, like get a starting center. And, of course, that's going to be the primary focus. Get a guy that we say this is the starter, 20-plus minutes a night every night. And that should be the main focus. But it can't be the only focus. I really question whether or not Jackson Hayes is going to be back next season after the way things played out with J.J. Redick in the playoffs, him not getting minutes there. If all the Lakers are offering is a veteran minimum, might he just look around and say, man, I'll go take a veteran minimum from another team. It's going to be about the same amount of money. I'll take a veteran minimum with somebody else who didn't just bench me in the postseason. So I don't know if Jackson Hayes is going to be back or not. I do think they need at least 2. 2 is the minimum. And ideally, you want to offset their skill sets. If you get a bouncy big as your number 1 center, as your starter, you want a bruiser as your backup or 3-point shooter, a different type of skill set with those 2 guys. Now, could you make an argument for 3? Yeah, you absolutely could. Maybe it's Trey Jemison. Maybe he winds up being an option. We'll see how he develops over the summer. Maybe he could be your 3rd guy. He's on a 2-way contract right now. But I think the Lakers need at least 2. You can make an argument for them to need 3 legit centers. I think the center position is becoming more in style around the NBA. It's becoming more and more important once again as we see teams focus in more and more on the boards. Kai Jones, Moses Brown, Chris Boucher. Kai Jones and Moses Brown. Well, really, I think all 3 of those guys would be kind of like 3rd bigs on a team. If they're your 3rd big, okay, you could take a swing on one of those guys. I don't know if I'd feel too comfortable with any of those 3 being like my number 2. This dude is my backup, 10 minutes a night type of center. I don't know if I'm quite there on any of those guys. Joining me now, my guy Mark Gunnels. Mark, how you doing?
What's up, man? How you doing?
Happy to see you here. You made it through the traffic and jumped on. Happy to have you. Heading into a holiday weekend here. Good way to kick it off with some Lakers basketball.
Yeah, man. You know how LA traffic is, man. So especially with the holidays this weekend, so I got caught up in that. But yeah, man, glad to be here. On the search for a big.
Yeah, on the search for a big right now. A lot of people are saying the Lakers need to get multiple bigs. And I agree. I think they do need to find some help at the center position. I don't know who they're going to get exactly, but I know that's their number 1 priority. It's to go land probably multiple centers out there on the market. They'll have that taxpayer MLE. It'll be about $5.6 million that they could spend, unless like LeBron takes way less or something. Then maybe that opens up $14 million with that full MLE. But I really do think in order to get the starting level center, if they're going to get the guy that's going to be a Laker long term, I think they're going to have to do it on the trade market. I don't see that guy out there in free agency unless somehow like Miles Turner changes his mind and says, I hate the Pacers now or something, which obviously it's not going to happen.
Right. I saw your video the other day about, I hope I'm pronouncing his name right, Onyeka
Okongwu. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very intrigued by that possibility. He's went to USC, so he's obviously he's an LA kid. I believe he's from out here as well.
Chino Hills, yep.
Yeah, he played with the Ball brothers, right? Yeah, I think he played with Lonzo and LaMelo.
So he's a really interesting player. I don't think the Hawks ultimately move him. I don't think the Hawks are going to trade him. They benched Clint Capella or brought Capella off the bench in order to give Okongwu the starting job. I don't think the Hawks move him, but he wouldn't be a bad target. And he was listed as a guy that was on the list of guys Luka wanted to play with. So, okay, like there's something there. I think the Lakers will make that phone call again, but I don't necessarily see the Lakers and the Hawks as a great fit in terms of trade partners right now.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because I would really like that fit. And he's young, so he fits the timeline of the next era with Luka. He's only 24 years old, I believe. So, yeah, that would have been really nice. I mean, like I said, it could still happen, but I do think it's unlikely, like you said.
Yeah, absolutely. That's look, the Lakers, they've got to leave no stone unturned. They're going to have to call on all these guys. If it's, you know what, is it likely you're going to get Jaren Jackson Jr.? No, but you make the call. Is it likely you're going to get Okongwu? No, but you make the call. Same's true on all of these different bigs. Rob Pelinka, he's going to have to use his phone minutes. He's going to have to call all over the place. I hope he has a good long-distance plan. It's not really a thing anymore. But Rob is going to have to really work the phone lines and call on all these guys and just explore. Go get Baton's Day. Sure, right? Make the call. Rob Williams, they hate the Lakers in Portland. Make the call, right? You've got to have those conversations, and I think they're going to have to really be active on the market if they're going to find not just the right guy, but at the right price. And that's going to be so critical because they're so asset poor right now, the Lakers are.
Yep, and we know how they feel about any deal that involves Austin Reeves.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the Lakers, the only way they give up Austin is if they're getting a all-star level, like a Jaren Jackson Jr., a Bam Adebayo, somebody like that. Is it likely they're going to get those guys? No. But again, you're going to have to make those phone calls. Lake Show said, keep gems. We don't do that here. Well, I mean, they kept Austin so far. Who knows? Maybe he winds up getting traded. They let Caruso go. They kept Taylor Horton-Tucker. That wound up being a mistake. They gave him a new deal. That was a mistake. They traded Max Christie, though that was for Luka, so it's hard to complain there. They traded Josh Hart. Boy, Josh Hart would be great on this Lakers team right now, but they traded Josh Hart, Lonzo, Brandon Ingram, but that was for Anthony Davis, so you can kind of understand it. But in general, Mark, I was talking a bit at the start of the show about the Lakers need to identify some diamonds in the rough and develop them to round out the back end of their roster, and they haven't done a good enough job of that lately. And part of the reason for that, though, is some of the guys they have developed, like Max Christie, they've wound up then turning around and trading away rather than just keeping.
Yeah, I guess the next guy in line on that list would be Dalton Connect, right?
Yeah, and we're talking about how Dalton Connect probably is going to get put in a trade.
Yeah. So I mean, I can't necessarily say you're wrong, Lake Show 1996.
They already traded him once, right? But I think there's a different, like if they had traded him, let's say Mark Williams was the healthiest person ever, right? And they go through with that deal. I think that's where it's okay. Like if you're getting a 24-year-old, Mark Williams, like then it's a little, all right, I get it. You're getting a young player that could be a long-term fit for your future versus trading away or allowing a young player to just walk away and not getting a significant future asset back for that player.
Yeah, or like you mentioned in a couple of other examples, unless you're getting somebody that is you're going for a championship, like you're getting like an Anthony Davis or
sure.
And obviously you can't. The Luka trade is an anomaly, right? Like you had to do that. I mean, he's 26 years old, top 5 player in the league. I mean, that's one you just have to do.
Like look at the Thunder. They flipped Josh Giddey, a young player who's talented, didn't necessarily fit their system, and turned him into Alex Caruso. They're probably going to win a championship. You're not going to complain over that. right? That they got a guy that's going to help them potentially win an NBA championship. That's the scenario. Hey, that's fine. But they've also done a tremendous job identifying and developing young talent. It helps when you have a million draft picks to spend, but the Lakers in general, they're going to have to, like, they found Jordan Goodwin this year, found Austin Reeves in the past. They're going to have to find at least one more of those kind of guys that can be a rotation player for them. And it's much easier said than done, but it's an area that I think they've come up a bit short in. And part of that has been the draft. Guys like Max Lewis, guys like Jalen Ochipino that haven't worked out, and it's really compounded their lack of assets and created, I think, an even bigger problem.
Yeah, and it's always difficult when you're not picking in the top 10. You're picking later in the first round, but we've seen guys become diamonds in the rough for other teams that were picked in the late first round, even second round. So Lakers just haven't had that luck over the last few drafts. Now, I think Dalton Knecht is one of those guys that you drafted last year, but like we mentioned, he may be on the go here pretty soon.
Right. So, what's funny is, as I look back at that draft, and this is, by the way, I mean, total grain of salt here, completely in rumor territory, but I had heard some rumors that the Lakers were very interested in Yves Missi in the draft, and then Dalton Knecht fell. And I don't fault them for taking Dalton Knecht. I think Dalton Knecht's a very good player, and he's going to be very good for a while now. But I do wonder, like, would they have actually wound up better off had Dalton Knecht not fallen and taking Yves Missi at 17? Would they be in better shape right now if it had played out that way? Because we were all so excited that Knecht fell to 7. I mean, he was projected to go, like 7, 8, 9, right in there. And then he fell to 17. Would they actually be in a better spot right now if Knecht had gotten taken earlier and they had just taken Yves Missi at 17, and then maybe they wouldn't be so desperate to find a big out there right now?
That's a good point, because at that point when Dalton Knecht fell, it's kind of like, are your plans go out the window? Because you didn't think this guy would even be there. And it's like, kind of have to take him, even if he's not necessarily a need for your team. So, yeah, I mean, that's an interesting point. I mean, but it's one of those, right? That's why GMs get paid the big bucks, because at that point, it's like, how can I pass on this guy? But then you're also thinking, why is he falling so far? Like, why don't other teams want him? Is there something going on that we don't know about? So
it was just his age, from what I understand. It was just his age that teams were worried about. But I mean, the Lakers didn't even work out Dalton Knecht because there was no chance that he was going to be there for the Lakers. They were thrilled that they got him, and I mean, he's still a great player. I think he's going to be really good in the NBA. But fit-wise, I think I guess, Mark, to land the plane, if you could right now just swap straight up Dalton Knecht for Yves Missi, I would do that.
Yeah, I mean, rookie contract, and if it was a need, so I would too, because now you're looking at most likely trading Dalton Knecht for a big, in order to get that. Yeah.
All right, let's go here. The custodian with a hypothetical trade here. Oh, okay. All right, thinking cap time. We've got 4 teams involved here. The Lakers get Kentavious Caldwell-Pope and Jaren Jackson Jr. Oh, my goodness. I can only imagine what the Lakers are giving up here. The Magic get Austin Reeves, Jared Vanderbilt, and Shake. And they get Jay Huff from the Grizzlies. The Grizz get Dalton Knecht, Maxi Kleber, and a first. Does the money work on that for the Grizz? The Grizz sending out, well, maybe. Anyway, I'd have to actually punch this into the trade machine via LA. Okay. The Grizzlies get Dalton Knecht, Maxi, a first, Tristan Da Silva, Wendell Carter Jr., and a first from the Magic. Whoa. So there's a lot going on there. So the Lakers are getting Kentavious Caldwell-Pope and Jaren Jackson Jr., and just to focus on the Lakers part of it, KCP and Jaren Jackson Jr. for Reeves, Vando, Knecht, Maxi, and a first-round pick. I mean, I think that value-wise, that's probably the price for just Jaren Jackson Jr., if not, and I don't even know if that gets it done. And Kentavious Caldwell-Pope on his new contract, I don't know if he has positive value because he didn't have a great season. But Yeah, I mean, I think you probably do this. I don't know that the Grizzlies do this.
That's what I'm not sure. I guess their biggest draw of that will be getting Wendell Carter. Then you get Dog Connect.
And Connect and Mac. I mean, they're getting a lot of pieces. They're turning $1 into, 4 quarters here, essentially.
Getting
You get a couple of firsts, though, too. You get some expiring money. You get a couple of young players. Look, it's not a bad return. I think you're getting Connect, Tristan Da Silva, plus Wendell Carter, plus a couple of firsts. Like, that's not a terrible return for Jaren Jackson Jr. And then the Orlando Magic, you're getting Austin Reeves. I think if you're giving up Wendell Carter, you're giving up KCP plus Tristan Da Silva, but you're getting Austin Reeves, Vando. You would have to really love Austin Reeves, I think, to do that, because I don't think Jared Vanderbilt's a positive value on his contract.
Yeah.
So KCP and Tristan Da Silva plus Wendell Carter Jr., I think the Magic would say no to that.
Yeah, then I'm also thinking about Austin Reeves fitting there with Paulo and Franz. I'm not sure that's a good fit basketball-wise.
Yeah. Yep. Anyway, and most like big giant trades like this oftentimes get tripped up in different places. I don't necessarily love this for the Magic. For the Lakers side, sure, you're getting Jaren Jackson Jr. Alex throws in, you don't want Triple J. I'm in Memphis, and we're tired of Scottie Pippen Jr. getting more real. That's another guy, a diamond in the rough that the Lakers found, then let him walk away because Darvin Ham didn't like that he was smaller. That's why Scottie Pippen Jr. wound up going elsewhere. But getting more rebounds than Jaren Jackson Jr., no. But he gives you stuff in terms of his three-point shooting. He helps you out there. Is he look, if Jaren Jackson Jr. was a 10 rebound per game guy, then there's no chance at all that the Grizzlies would be moving him. And I don't know that they will. I think it's unlikely that they will. But is it maybe a possibility? Yeah. But if he was a 10 rebound a night guy, it's not a possibility at all.
Yeah, and you get his rim protection value. He's able to switch for a big onto guards. He's not a complete liability like normal bigs are. So, I mean, there's definitely upside there as well. I think I would do it if I'm Lakers. Just not sure if the Magic would do that trade.
Yeah, that'll be a long-term fit with Jaren Jackson. Jaren Jackson needs a big next to him. Yeah, you would not be able to get Jaren Jackson and say, okay, we're done at the center position. We're fine now. No, you'd still need to go get more guys. Triple J said collab with Irwin and Pete Zayas. Yeah, sure. In fact, I'm going to be on Anthony's show, I think on Monday. But yeah, we definitely do stuff like that. Mamba Mentality said, can the Lakers take advantage of some teams' cap situations, like give teams exemptions in return for second round draft capital? Like trade. I mean, you could generate a trade exception if the Lakers were to absorb a salary via a trade. So maybe there's something there. But remember, if they take back more salary than they're sending out in a deal, you're triggering a hard cap at the first apron, which would make things really tough for the Lakers. Yeah, so that's where it gets tough for them to do that. Can they take advantage of some teams that are in tough cap situations? Sure. Like, could they talk? They might have to plug their nose to do it, but could they talk to the Boston Celtics, who need to jet in some players in order to save money? Sure, they could get involved in a conversation like that. What about Minnesota? Depending on when the playoffs end for them, are they really going to be able to keep all their guys? Might there be a move to be made there? What about Indiana? Does Indiana really want to become a first apron team and go over it? I think they should, but what if they still have the mandate of, no, we're not going to go over the first apron, and you still have to pay Miles Turner? Could the Lakers swoop in there? Sure, I think you need to be advantageous looking around at situations like that. As far as specifically using a trade exception, the problem is, again, if you're taking back that extra salary, you're going to trigger that hard cap. And I think the Lakers are just not in a position where they can be hard capped at the first apron unless LeBron says, yeah, I'll play for $30 million, or Dorian Finney-Smith walks away or something like that.
Yeah, it's obviously the selfish part of me, and most every Laker fan, I think, but I do hope LeBron does gives a little help there financially, man.
It would be nice.
LeBron, you're well off, man. You don't need all that money.
It would be nice. There's not a lot of guys out there in free agency, but it would be nice to have the full MLE because you can use that as a trade exception. They could use that as a way to absorb a salary in a trade. For example, I'm not saying that he would be the solution to all their problems or even that this is a route they should go down. This is just a salary off the top of my head that would make some sense for the Lakers. You look at the Portland Trailblazers. You look at, again, the Blazers don't want to trade with the Lakers. This is purely a hypothetical. But Rob Williams, $13 million. Okay, if LeBron takes less, are there a lot of free agents out there? No. But what if you tell LeBron, hey, you take less, we're going to use our mid-level exception, that $14 million, as a trade exception, and we'll kick a second-round pick and a swap to the Blazers for Rob Williams. And there we've got more depth at the center position. That's how LeBron not taking less could actually hurt the Lakers. Not so much that you're going to miss out on the free. There's not a lot of free agents out there. Would it be nice to get a Steven Adams or someone like that? Sure. But having the ability to use it as a trade exception and absorb a salary would be really, really nice for the Lakers. So that's where LeBron could really help out. And I still think if there was somebody really good out there, they were going to, hey, we're going to get Herb Jones. If you take less, LeBron, I would have to imagine LeBron would say, okay, cool. I'll do it then. Otherwise, I think he probably takes the max.
Yeah. And I see a comment, man. Like these comments really always kill me. Is like, I mean, I get it, right? Somebody was like, it's a disgrace to see you guys asking LeBron to take a pay cut. Would you or Trevor take a pay cut? I mean, we're not worth $1 billion. I mean, I get it, but come on, man.
Okay, so let's. I'll talk about that real quick. I've talked about this quite a bit already this year. We've been talking about it all summer. I've been on the side of like LeBron shouldn't need to take a pay. The dude just finished 6th in the MVP voting. I even put it out there on X. I said when LeBron finished 6th, I said this should put an end to the LeBron's not worth max money anymore type thing, right? Like that type of narrative that's out there. I'm not asking LeBron to take a pay cut. I think he is worth. Look, if I'm the Lakers and LeBron says I won't take a pay cut, I'm still more than happy to give him the max. Not necessarily just on the floor. On the floor, sure, but off the court, oh my God, you make so much money by having LeBron on your team. It is a steal to have LeBron on a max contract. I'm just talking about flexibility-wise. It would be nice if the Lakers had a $14 million mid-level exception that you could use as a trade exception. That's it. Should it be expected that LeBron's going to take that pay cut? No. But if he did and he offered to do it last year, it would be beneficial for the Lakers. That's all. Not saying LeBron needs to, not saying LeBron should, not saying LeBron's not a good teammate, LeBron's selfish or anything like that. That's some of the stuff that's out there. I'm not saying any of that. I'm just saying, hey, it would be nice to have that kind of flexibility if the right guy is there. That's all.
Yeah, and that's where I stand too. If the right guy is there, because at this point in his career, you got Luka, you got maybe 1 or 2 more years left with LeBron playing. This is probably his last real chance next season to win a championship. So if the right guy does come available, and he has a talk with the front office, I do think he will be willing to be like, okay, we can get this guy. All right, let's go ahead and do it. But like you said, if the right guy is not there and the free agency is already slim as it is, then yeah, there's no debate that he's worth it. Like he's worth every penny. He finished 6th, like you said, in MVP voting. So yeah, we understand that. So I get both sides of it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Then we've got, somebody said, is Luka going to take a pay cut? Luka's already under contract next year. That doesn't change it. He could take a pay cut in the future if he wanted to, but that's typically not what happens with players that are in their prime. All right, let's go here. SciPod, good Friday, Trevor and Lakers Nation. Are there any players we can poach from the last 4 teams of the playoffs? Turner, Nesmith, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Deuce McBride. Unlikely. Alexander Walker is the most likely of those guys, though. Turner and Neesmith, I think they're too important to what the Pacers are doing. McBride I think he's been pretty good in the playoffs, had some big moments for the Knicks. But Alexander Walker could legit be a cap casualty for the Minnesota Timberwolves. You look at where they're at right now, jumping over to the Wolves salaries, they're $12.8 million below the second apron. And there's a decent chance they're going to have to pay Naz Reid. He could opt out or not pick up this player option for $15 million. You're going to have to pay some of these guys, and you're still going to have to fill out your roster. So it's going to be tough to pay Alexander Walker and keep him. Now, they could become a second apron team and just say, screw it, we're going to pay everybody. But most teams look at that second apron as a de facto hard cap and don't want to pass it. So paying Alexander Walker, particularly if Naz Reid is going to get a raise, becomes really, really difficult to do. And Julius Randle was a guy that when they first made the trade, we thought, okay, maybe they'll trade Randle as an expiring $30 million or $31 million. Now he's played so well, I don't think they do that. So I think Alexander Walker could very well wind up being a cap casualty for the Minnesota Timberwolves and be available. Now, if the Lakers only have the taxpayer MLE, that $5.6 million, is that enough to get him? Maybe not. I don't know. But that one seems to be the most realistic option. The other guys, I think their incumbent teams probably hang on to them.
Yeah, unfortunately, I agree because I really, really would love Miles Turner, man. He's a guy that
he'd be great
for years.
We've been talking about him for years.
Yeah, just a perfect fit, man. But
he'd be awesome.
Yeah,
he'd be awesome. But I don't see the Pacers are gonna. They would move if they had to. If they said we really aren't gonna pay, they would find someone to take like Obi Toppin, somebody like that. Before they would. Let's say Miles Turner wants $30 million. That's the rumor that's out there. He probably is going to get it the way he's playing right now. Probably going to get $30 million. Could you get someone to take Obi Toppin? Could you pay something for someone to take Obi Toppin? Probably. They love TJ McConnell. They wouldn't move him. Would someone, if they were really in a pinch, would someone take Benedict Mathurin? Absolutely. They can move these guys. Jarris Walker, yeah, you could find somebody to take him. They have ways that they can move off salary. Nembhard's deal picks up this next year, but he's been good. They're not gonna want to lose him, but they've got other salaries I think are movable, rather than going back to Miles Turner and saying, "Oh, sorry, we can't pay you 30. I guess we'll just trade you." No, they're not going to do that.
Yep. Unfortunately.
Yeah. I would love to get him, and nor could the Lakers come anywhere close to matching that number, even if he really did hit free agency. Mamadou said, "Shouldn't we have some free roster spots this offseason?" Yeah, I mean, let's take a look at that. So right now, the Lakers, you got to figure in terms of expiring contracts. Shake Milton, non-guaranteed. Maybe they pick up some of that money and they just use them in a trade. But realistically, that's going to be an open roster spot. Jackson Hayes. That could wind up being an open roster spot if he doesn't come back. Markieff Morris, that could be an open spot. Bronny's obviously going to stick around, assuming LeBron does, of course. Alex Len, though, there's a spot right there. Jordan Goodwin probably sticks around. So you've got 3-4 at least open roster spots right now for the Lakers. And I think it's fair to say that they probably need to move on from some of these other guys. Maybe it's Gabe. Maybe it's Maxey. Maybe they bring him back and say, hey, we only saw you for part of one game, but that they need to move off some of these other guys and open up some spots. So the Lakers are going to have flexibility with their roster. They're going to have spots that they need to fill. Mark, I think the key, though, is that they need to fill them with some guys, and it's easier said than done, but with some guys that you can actually put on the floor. I thought they had all season. They had too many guys that you simply couldn't put into an NBA game, taking up roster spots.
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking about it for a while now. They need guys that can play both sides. We have too many one-way players, and that gets exposed in the playoffs when a team can focus just on you for a week and a half, 2 weeks. You're not playing like a random back-to-back in January, and you don't have enough time to game plan. Like, they're seriously just focused on you, and you got to exploit it, especially when teams are seeking a mismatch. And I feel like we had too many liabilities, especially on the defensive side of the ball. And Luka's not going nowhere. We know that, right? So that's the thing. You have to build the team around his flaw, and you just hope that he can become just an average defender. I mean, Dallas, we talked about it before, they built just about the perfect roster you could around him last year. You had two rim protectors, two bigs, you had some wing defenders, you had guys that can catch and shoot. Like, that was the model. So Lakers got to follow something similar to that.
Yeah, and they've got to find a way to get that done. Again, easier said than done. Rob Pelinka's got a tough task ahead of him this summer. Wynn said, we have some spots, but who will come for cheap? Like, that's where you've got to get your – and it's almost a negative to be put in this situation, but your Malik Monks, your Dennis Schroeder's, guys who were better than veteran minimum players, but came on that contract knowing that they would get in the spotlight in LA and they would be able to use that to turn that into their next deal. The downside to doing that is you don't get bird rights for those players and you can't offer them, if you're over the cap, you can't offer them much of a raise. Now for next season though, next summer, let's say, for example, a guy that I like a lot, DeAnthony Melton. He got hurt last year, but he's a phenomenal player when he's healthy. We saw what he did with the Warriors. USC guy like DeAnthony Melton would be high up on my list of targets if I'm using a minimum contract. And maybe he gets more than the minimum, but he'd be great. Now, let's say he has the kind of season that I think he could have next year, and he's worth more than the minimum. The problem the Lakers ran into with Malik Monk, with Dennis Schroeder, was Schroeder a little different, but Malik Monk specifically, they couldn't pay him. They couldn't get close to what the Kings offered him. And so Malik Monk wanted to stay. He wanted to stay with the Lakers, but the Lakers could offer him like half of what the Kings were able to offer because the Lakers didn't have any money in free agency to spend. They didn't have their full mid-level exception. All they had was a taxpayer mid-level, and it just wasn't enough to keep him. But if you look at next summer, depending on obviously what the Lakers do this offseason, but if you look at next summer, there's a bunch of flexibility. So let's say you do pick up DeAnthony Melton or any other guy that you can get on a cost-controlled contract, on a minimum deal, get him in this year. Let's say that guy pops, and you go, wow, we found something here. Well, next year, suddenly you've got a bunch of contracts coming off your books, and maybe this looks different at the conclusion of this summer, but next year you've got a bunch of money coming off your books, and you're going to have more flexibility to keep some of those guys that you identify. So I think that's one of the things that we have to keep an eye on here with this Lakers team is they may have the potential to add talent that is looking to use the LA spotlight, but not immediately lose that player when they outperform their minimum contract. And that could be really interesting if you can get a Melton or someone along those lines.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I'm glad you mentioned the LA Spotlight because that is a thing, getting to play on all these national televised games. You really get to showcase yourself, playing big moments, big opportunities, always in front of the screen. So that stuff does that I don't think a lot of people consider.
Bruce Brown, another guy to note. I like him a lot. The Lakers have liked Bruce Brown a lot. He could be maybe a target with the taxpayer mid-level. That would be interesting to go get. Hey, if you can get him on a minimum, phenomenal, and save your taxpayer mid-level for somewhere else. I don't know if they can, but yeah, that would be another interesting one that I would definitely be targeting if I'm the Lakers. And Bruce Brown, I think he'd be a nice fit. All right, let's go here. Jeremy said Utah gets, another big trade. Utah gets Derek Lively, Gabe Vincent, Shake Melton, Dalton Connect, and the Lakers 2031 pick. Okay. The Mavs get Austin Reeves. So the Lakers are giving Austin, Connect, Shake, Gabe, and their first. Okay. And they're getting, Walker Kessler, Colin Sexton, Najee Marshall. I think it's too good of a deal for the Lakers.
Sign me up.
Right? Yeah, I mean, sign me up for that. Najee Marshall did a really nice job for the Mavs when they lost pretty much everybody and kind of filled in as a playmaker for them. You're getting Walker Kessler. I mean, the Jazz want everything for Walker Kessler alone right now. Plus, you're getting Colin Sexton. Yeah, I think it's too good of a deal. Now they're getting Derek Lively back, and Dalton Connect and a pick. The Mavs are getting Austin Reeves, but they're giving up Lively
and Marshall.
Yeah, and Najee Marshall. Lively and Najee Marshall. That's where it probably falls apart there. Is Najee Marshall and Lively for Austin Reeves. I don't know the Mavs would do that. In fact, I'm pretty sure they would not.
Yeah. Love it for the Lakers, though.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess as Sky Falcon notes, if the Mavs are willing to move Lively, do you just, if you're the Lakers, do you just say, cool, we'll take Lively, right? So
Yeah.
Would you do Gabe, Maxey, a swap, and a second for Marcus Smart? Would Washington do that? How likely is it? A Austin Reeves for Herb trade straight up? I don't think that's very likely. An Austin Reeves for Herb Jones, because I think both teams would say no, honestly. I don't think Herb Jones is the kind of player the Lakers would move Austin Reeves. And I love Herb Jones. He's great. I don't think he's the kind of player that the Lakers would move Austin for. And I can make an argument why they should, but I also don't think the Pelicans. The Pelicans already have DeJounte Murray, who's, again, is healing from an injury. They already have CJ McCollum. The Pels need Herb Jones more than they need an Austin Reeves. So I know you've got CJ's old and expiring. DeJounte Murray's an unknown after his injury, but long term, they are on the roster right now. So if I'm the Pels, I'm probably not doing that either. But that Gabe, Maxey, a swap and a second for Marcus Smart is interesting. I mean, the Wizards, they're not in a position to really utilize Marcus Smart. He's a $21.5 million expiring contract for next year, so you're not taking back any long-term salary.
Yeah, I'm just not sure what Marcus Smart is at this point anymore.
Yeah. He doesn't shoot the ball particularly well unless he's playing against the Lakers. He was a plus defender. He's a former defensive player of the year, though. Was he really that top tier of a defensive player? I don't know. Like, value-wise, it's not bad. It's not bad value-wise, but I'd be more concerned with opportunity cost. Like, moving those guys for Marcus Smart means you can't use those expiring contracts on anybody else. And I think there's other guys you would target before Marcus Smart. I think it's not so much a question of value, it's a question of opportunity cost for me.
Yeah. And Marcus Smart, he only played 34 games this past season, and he's 31 years old. Just keep that in mind as well.
Yeah. Yep. That's the issue. And he's got a history of injuries too. Let's see. 3-team trade. Giannis.
Oh, wow.
Whoa. We got a lot going on here. I'll just go back to this. I was blocking Mark off there with the chat questions. 3-team trade. Giannis to the Spurs. I don't like that. Portis and Barnes to the Lakers. And then Rui, Vassell, Castle, and Reeves to the Bucks. So Harrison Barnes and Bobby Portis went up to the Lakers with Austin going out and Rui going out. I wouldn't do that if I'm the Lakers. So the Lakers are getting Harrison Barnes and Bobby Portis and losing Rui Hachimura and Austin Reeves. Yeah, I'm not doing that if I'm the Lakers. I like Bobby Portis. I like both those guys just fine. But I don't think they clear the bar of guys that the Lakers would be willing to move Austin Reeves for.
Yeah, giving up Reeves and Rui in that deal?
No. Yeah, I wouldn't do that. And I wouldn't have that much interest in getting Giannis to the Spurs to begin with. Although I do like the Spurs having to give up Vassell and give up Castle as well. But yeah, I don't see that for the Lakers.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't see it either.
All right, let's go here. Austin Reeves for Claxton. You'd have to have other salaries in there. Claxton's making like $25 million. But let's say it's Austin plus an expiring for Claxton. I don't know that he's even, and I like Claxton a lot. And I'm not saying from the Lakers' perspective, I don't know that Claxton clears the bar for the level of big that they would be willing to give up Austin Reeves to get.
Yeah, I think even just for me, not even, I know it's not for the Lakers. I'm pretty certain it's not. But even for me, I'm not sure. Because I mean, I mentioned this before. Like, Claxton is arguably the worst free throw shooter in the league. So in the fourth quarter, get close games. Is he even playable? Like, that's my biggest thing with him. And I everything else, I love the player. He's a lob threat. He can show some rim protection. Mm-hmm. But that matters, man, especially in these playoffs. Like, you see it. they're gonna do the hack of Claxton in the game, and you're gonna take him out. You gotta take him out.
His timing on blocks is fantastic.
Yeah,
but like even if you get Nick Claxton, you better have a backup play. You better have Steven Adams behind him because if a strong wind blows, Nick Claxton is gone. He's gonna fly away. He weighs 215 pounds. He's gone. You're dealing with Jokic is gonna snap him in half. So that's the challenge with Claxton. And Claxton fits in a lot of ways. It's everything but the free throw shooting, the overall size, all that. With those question marks, I just don't think you're going to be willing to give up Austin in that situation. Gabe Vincent, adult connect for Jonathan Isaac. Sure, I could get on board with something like that. I don't think the Orlando Magic would do it, but I'd be interested in that. Can we get Bobby Portis in a sign and trade? No, because accepting a player via a sign and trade would trigger a hard cap at the first apron, which would leave the Lakers unable to fill out their roster, essentially. So that wouldn't work. Right now, the Lakers are, I believe, $4 million below the first apron, projected to be anyway. 4.3 million below the first apron. So you wouldn't be able to accept a player via sign and trade because you'd hit a hard cap at that first apron, and then they'd be stuck. Let's go. We'll do a few more before we head off for the weekend here, and I'll save some of these and put them on our next show. Who are the best perimeter defenders in free agency for us to get? Let's take a quick peek.
It's pretty slim pickings there.
It is. It really is. I like the aforementioned DeAnthony Melton is certainly somebody that I think the Lakers should have interest in. Bruce Brown, absolutely. Yep, Bruce Brown. Look at some of these. See, a lot of these guys have player options too, and they're not full free agents. But from there, there's not going to be a lot. Like Dennis Schroeder, our old friend, he'd be a pesky point guard defender. Sure, he can. Is he going to get more than a minimum? Probably, but maybe there's something like that. This is the one. He's got a player option. He probably picks that up because I don't think he gets $11.6 million on the market. But if Matisse Thybulle is available, yes, please. He's an excellent perimeter defender. I think he'd be really good. But again, I don't know that he gets that after the injuries that robbed him of much of last season. So he probably picks that up. If he doesn't, and for some reason he's willing to sign on for the taxpayer MLE, yeah, sign me up for that. Trey Jones. I mean, Gary Payton II is another one who pretty pesky perimeter defender, former Laker. Gary Payton II, another one who got away. That could be an interesting target. Gary Harris, he can be okay defensively. Javon Carter, he's going to pick up that player option though. Otherwise, he'd be one to mention. Davion Mitchell, I would be saying Davion Mitchell. If I hate how many of these I'm saying this guy, but it's not going to happen because of X, Y, and Z. Davion Mitchell's a restricted free agent.
Yeah. I would love it.
Brutal. Alexander Walker, sure. Nickeil Alexander-Walker would be a good one. I'm interested to see what happens with Jake LaRavia. Amir Coffey, maybe. Could you get him? These are some of the names that are out there. But again, when you actually look at the list, I think what it really drives home is there's not a lot. There's not a lot in free agency.
Nope, not at all.
Somebody said Ben Simmons. Yeah. Yeah. What are you talking about? Thybulle can't even get played in Portland. Thybulle was hurt for most of the season in Portland. When he did play, he was pretty good.
Yeah, I love that.
Drew, would you trade Austin Reeves for Jalen Suggs? Yeah. I don't think the Magic would do it, though. But, yeah.
Yeah, I would, too.
Dalton Connect, Maxi Kleber, and Gabe for Thybulle and Williams. Ooh. Two injury-prone players, but when they're healthy, they're essentially what you need.
Yeah, I think you got to do it. You got to take the risk.
I think I would have to do it.
Yeah, you get a perimeter defender and you're getting a big. Yeah, you got to do it.
I think I'd have to.
Yeah.
I think I'd have to.
Hey, Alexa.
Yeah.
Turn on the fan.
Not the Portland wouldn't necessarily do it. Trade Dorian Finney-Smith too, somebody said. Yeah. Dorian Finney-Smith's on a player option though. If you judge LeBron, AD, Pelinka, Lakers era strictly by rings, I think it's fair to call it not a failure, but at least a significant underachievement. Expectations were multiple championships. I think we're also entering an era in the NBA where winning multiple championships is more of a. I mean, we're going to have 7 straight different champions in the NBA where nobody's won back to back. That's worth noting, but sure. And specifically when we look at, if you expected multiple championships, then it's a disappointment that they didn't get multiple championships out of that AD LeBron era. But I think what's particularly disappointing is that I think they prevented themselves from getting another championship. Now, you could say in 2021, I think they could have won it in 2021 if it weren't for injuries. But then they blew up a roster that, had they run it back, would have been one of the title favorites, and they instead got Russell Westbrook and completely derailed everything they had built. So that, I think, is the truly unfortunate part of the LeBron AD era, was that I think they prevented themselves from maybe having a shot at winning a second one.
Yeah, I was about to bring up that Suns series because they went on to go to the finals that year. Obviously, you were up 2-1. I think you were going to win that game. AD got hurt, and then the rest is history.
Yeah. All right, let's go. Gabe, Maxey, and a second for Marcus Smart. Again, that's an opportunity cost one. We just got there. Jay said, I'm at the point where LeBron should be willing to take a pay cut if he wants to win a chip before he retires. Also, name 4 logical players that we could trade for that would scream banner 18. I mean, are there 4 players out there that logically the Lakers could easily get that would immediately make them title favorites? And is anybody truly a title favorite? I mean, there's so much parity in the NBA right now. But should LeBron be willing to take a pay cut? Sure. If the right players there, like last year, LeBron was willing to take a pay cut if the Lakers were getting Clay, if the Lakers were getting James Harden. I would imagine if Miles Turner said, yo, LeBron, I want to come to LA and I'll take an MLE to do it, LeBron would say, yeah, I'll take $30 million. I'll take $20 million off my contract, so you have an extra $14 million to spend, which is about how the math would really work out. So you've got $14 million to spend, and I'm just going to trust you to go spend it on whoever. That's not what LeBron's going to do. Right. That's not what's going to happen. And he may not be willing to at all, but I think it would have to be a move that LeBron said, yep, we get